Be'ez Hashem, Parshas Chukas in Eretz Yisrael, Koirach and Chutz Loretz. There's an interesting Rashi here in Parshas Chukas, when the Yidden were in the Midbar, and they wanted to have food, regular food, lechem, mayim, and it's the desert, there's nothing growing, there's nothing there. So the Pasuk says, Vatiktsar nefesh ha'om badorach. I have no idea how to teach that in English. Vatiktsar nefesh ha'om badorach. Kotzar is like short. Nefesh. The other one was very uproar. How do you say that? Upset. And Rashi struggles as well how to teach, even in Lashon Kodesh, what does it mean, Vatiktsar nefesh ha'om badorach? So Rashi says, Kol dovar akosha la'odom, everything that's hard for a person, that's frustrating, Neufel b'Lashon kitzur nefesh, it's past, it makes sense to use the term that his nefesh is now a trunk, like his nefesh doesn't have the capacity, the capability to absorb, to handle the matzav. That's why it's called Vatiktsar nefesh ha'om badorach. She says, Ka'odom sha'atoirach bo olov, something heavy comes upon him, a situation. Ve'ein daiter rechova, he doesn't have the state of mind. He can't accept it right now because he doesn't have, like someone says, talk to me tomorrow because now for today I'm done already. I'm finished for today. To be able to accept, to be able to be makabel, to absorb, to handle what happened. He doesn't have place in his heart. That means that the lave is like a real estate. The heart of a person, you could rent little rooms in someone's heart, and the tsar sits there. But when it's in its place, then it's not bad, because the person could move on in life. Yeah, I have that issue. That's where I store it, and it's like a person that has a machsan, a garage. So he has all kinds of messy, old wires and shovels for the snow and zachen. He just keeps it there. So he said, yeah, but it's all messed up. But it's in a shed. So a person has tsar. So the lave, when the lave could handle it, it sits somewhere and it makes sense. But when a person doesn't have Yeshua Das, a person doesn't have the right state of mind, so they can't make sense of the matzav. Like people say it that way. They say, it just doesn't make any sense. That's what people are used to saying. They verbalize it mamish like that. It means I cannot chap. I can't comprehend. What is that person thinking?
I don't know what to do with this.
I have no idea what to do with this. All kinds of sprach, all kinds of ways that a person is explaining. It's not explaining the level of pain. Not. It's explaining that whatever the level of pain is, I have an issue. I don't know where to put it. This is Rashi. And that's when a person gets very frustrated and starts acting up because they're very, very frustrated. It's not in its place. This is a very, very big yisoid, a große yisoid in Amun and Bitachon, in being makabel Yisurim Bahava, when it's big stuff. I mean, when a person's struggling with a bigger nisoyan, and also the day-to-day. It doesn't have to be that it's a big tzorah. The day-to-day, if we chap this concept, it could explain to us many, many, many situations that we go through. Why was it so upsetting? Why was it so frustrating? When a person doesn't chap what's happening, Rashi explains, when you don't chap what's happening right now. Now there are many matzovim that a person doesn't chap what's happening, that are lav dafka doime. It's not similar one to each other. It's different types. take the whole social part. When someone is acting up or talking to you or expecting you to do something, and I don't chap what that person's thinking. Someone asks you a favor. And it's a hard favor, so that's a struggle. But then there's something that's more frustrating than that. Why is he asking me this tova? I chap, he needs a favor, I got it. But what is that person thinking? The person doesn't chap that I'm making Shabbos Sheva brachos this week. No, it's some common sense. Or when I tell the person I can't do the favor, that person doesn't get it. So it's very, very frustrating. What's frustrating? That I can't chap that person's mahalach of thinking. And because I can't make sense of it, so whatever feelings it is, the feelings are stuck. It's just wandering around and can't find a place where to settle. It's like that yoina from the Teva. So it just bothers the person. It keeps on coming back. The person decides to learn. They learn weiter Geschmack. And then they stop and they say, but what are they really thinking? Well, why is it coming back? It comes back because it doesn't have where to sit. It keeps on revolving around the person. It's bemis fascinating. The selbe Zach, when a person can't chap why this and this mistake, durchfall, failure, situation, it keeps on happening to them again and again. They try to be the nice guy today and then they find themselves messed up again. Why do we always mess up? And they can't have, when does it happen? Why does it happen? It doesn't happen to him. It doesn't happen to him. For me, for some reason, and the person doesn't chap. When a person starts making sense of it, you have this kind of personality. Look, let's look at all the milas. It has the pros, it has cons. Every personality comes like that. It's very, very normal. Because this type of personality, so you shine when ABC happens. Okay, so in the other types of matzavim, that's when it's the other half of this personality. Person chaps, so you didn't help the problem, but you helped very, very much. The person says, so that's why. So then you gave menucha for that pain. Or, and this is maybe the most common and the most important to discuss, when a person can't give sich an eitzah, we call it, they can't figure it out or find a solution for the circumstances of life. Financial is one of the very, very common ones. It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. They're be'emes trying whatever they could. It's such a struggle. And it doesn't. Explain to me what I should do. So I have this child and this matziv, and that couple that I'm trying to help them, the minimum, the bare minimum, and then you have the Moises calling, I'm running around, the day has 24 hours. It just doesn't add up. Now the frustration is beyond the tsar that I don't have my tzrachim, I don't have my needs. That's one type of frustration. But there's another, there's daiga. Daiga is something else. Daiga is a problem. It weighs down, because a person is like experiencing the future also. You're holding next week and you're holding the chassan of the next child. Calm down. Why do you have to hold everything at once? That's daiga. But then there's a third pain that a person is sitting there and trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do? Or what was the plan? It doesn't make sense. Something is wrong. When people blame or themselves or others, it's like trying, maybe this isn't going to work. Maybe it's because my wife spends too much. That's the problem. With getroffen, that's what it is. Maybe, but it's the feelings that are leading you to that frustration is that it doesn't make sense, the matziv. Doesn't, or when a person is very, very upset at the laws of their country, amount of tax. That means they're sick. So it depends where you live. If you're in Eretz Yisrael, you have the liberty of saying Tziyonim. If you're living somewhere else, you have to say Goyim, Antisemitim, whatever it is. But what's leading to that frustration? Pshat is, I'm trying to feed my family. And now they're coming and they're saying, now you have to pay X amount of percent from what I earn. I can't, and if I can't, and you're doing something to me that I can't, you're Rosh Merusha, and it doesn't make any sense. I'm not trying to rob, I'm trying to stay afloat, I'm trying to manage. So financial is an example, but if you're trying to figure out a teenager, it could lead you to the same type of frustration. The pshat is, whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to go this way, I'm going to go the other way. You know how many times I tried and how much money I spent. It's a waste of time. The frustration adds on top of the matziv, which is painful, what's not letting the person calm down is that frustration that it doesn't make any sense what's happening. The fact that I cannot manage, I have no solution for my problem, that doesn't make sense. We have to identify this feeling. It's not that I don't have a solution. It's the fact that if I don't have a solution, that doesn't make sense. It's a big, big difference. The shir is about the second one. Because people are used to trying to handle the first one. I'm in pain because I don't have a solution. We could call it a little bit, if we want to understand this concept better. There is what type of tsar, and that is if the tsar has a place, a wagon where to sit. The fact that I don't have a solution, okay, that could be a certain type of tsar, it's called daig, or whatever. The fact that I add these words, and it doesn't make sense, that's making the smallest tsar float around the room and not letting me calm down. It means a person it can't fall asleep at night. You know why? Because there's a little mosquito that's running around, a little bee, that's not planning to bite anybody, but it's making that little noise. It doesn't make a difference how big the fly, it's a little fly, you know what, it's not going to bite, it's a fly, it's making noise. A person is going to come and say, you can't fall asleep, they're going to come with a scale and weigh the fly and say, you can't fall asleep, you know that it's not even a gram. If it flies around the room, I can't sleep. Got it? If it is a refrigerator, but it has a place, I could sleep well. It's very important to chap this nakuda. A person has a daiga, a person has a tirda, the pshat is, it's something. But the reason why it's driving you crazy is not because the problem is so huge. The pain is much more that you can't make sense of it. In relationships, especially with family members, it's so painful. Something happened. Father to a child, to a son, it could be a sister-in-law, whatever it is. A misunderstanding, whatever happened. But now, what's going on in the person's mind is, why? That means the fact that a person doesn't talk, now they're not in talking terms. What's the problem? So you'll talk to somebody else. No, it's a very big problem. Because what's constantly being generated in the person's heart is, but that person is so rude, and so not practical, and so not right. And again, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It also, it's melaveh. It's company. It means that when a person is wondering, why did I never have a mother that was acting like a mother to me? I always had to mother my mother. So there is the fact, and then there's the why. The why is that it doesn't make sense. So that's why you find people trying again after 500 times of failing. Maybe this time it's going to work. Why? Because it's macht sense. So maybe maybe I could make it happen. It comes from the Havana that it doesn't make, this matzav makes no sense. Ob, when we try to learn Amunah Bitachon, and we try to internalize the Yisodis of Amunah Bitachon, it's very important to chap that it makes sense that the Eibishter brings matzav into a person which make no sense. It sits well with me. It's mamash crucial for a person to chap this concept. It's mamash not a joke. It's not like a nice little line. When we, maybe before we go to this, you have this beautiful story that you said from Rabbi Aaron Shechter, which could fit in here, that there was a chuppah of a chos and a Baal Tshuva, that the people around were watching the father getting very frustrated in the middle of the chuppah, and it was getting very edgy, and the other was mamash scared he's going to do something. And Rabbi Aaron Shechter was there, and he called the father into a room, and then they came out and everything was fine. And then they asked the father, like, what happened? Well, they asked Rabbi Aaron Shechter. They asked Rabbi Aaron Shechter, what do you do? What kind of nice? He said, I explained him the steps, what's happening, like why are they reading this, what are they trying to say, why are they breaking that glass, why are they going around. This is a commitment, so everybody's going to do their fair share. This is when we're happy, we're trying to remember. When the father was watching a ceremony that he didn't chap, it was triggering the pain that his kid is becoming part of a cult. They break a glass. I mean, they're doing crazy stuff.
He himself, he didn't know what he's supposed to do, what he's not doing.
He was so not in place. But once he chap what's happening, and he chap what's his place here, so no, everything calmed down. It's a big yisoid, this Nakud. The person is going through a matzav. They're going through the matzav. There's two parts to your situation. One is the struggle. The struggle is a struggle. But what's making it so painful is that you're not chapping what's happening. And you're turning that into frustration. Which means in your heart you're telling yourself, it's not supposed to be like that. This is crazy. This makes no sense. That part is causing you tremendous amount of pain. Now the reason why people do that is because they make a pashta cheshbon. They say, does this make sense? I'm asking you. And if it doesn't fit, the amount of money your family needs to be able to have ends meet, the amount, the situation between siblings, whatever it is, does this make sense? It's impossible. It's you have to be superhuman to be able to cope with this. So it doesn't make any sense. If it doesn't make any sense, then I feel terrible. Then I feel that I have a tsar that's not going to have a place. And the selbe Sache is with big Yisura, heavy duty. Hashem Yirachem, it's no good for Yiddish kinder. But a mother of 10 little children passes away. So it was nifta. It's a house of little Yisayim. Does this make sense? Like, what now? It's the pain is ad la shamayim. This is the heavy stuff. This is nishstam. So this daiga, what's going to be? There's the pain itself, but then there's another factor that it doesn't make sense. Such a situation, it doesn't add up. There's no place where a person could understand what's the problem. So I'm fine. What are you talking about? When a person has $10 million choivus, and he has the banks and they're running, and they want to put him in. They want to put him in jail, whatever it is. So what exactly are you telling me? How are you being menachem me? You don't have with what to be menachem. So if that's the case, then on top of the matziv, It's not a fly that's going around, it's a monster. It's trying to fall asleep when there's a monster that doesn't have a cage. That's the feeling that many people go through. Oba. The Rebbeinu Shalom created the world with a mahalach that every person not only has to go through matzavim that make no sense, the best possible matzav a person should be in throughout the journey is to be in a matzav that doesn't make any sense. It's officially supposed to be like that. And if a person is managing financially, then he'll have somewhere else that doesn't add up. And the reason is because we say in Psukei de Zimra, Loi b'gvuros asus yechpots, loi b'shoiki yo ish yirtze, loi tzeh Hashem es yireya, v'asam yachlam l'chazdai. We mentioned many times, the Chiddushei HaRim, the Sasam, I think brings it, that something is weird about that hashva'ah, the comparison. You say, there's a sus, a horse, and then you have the tzaddikim. So, Hashem likes the tzaddikim more than the horse. That's what we say. What's the comparison? It doesn't make any sense. The Chiddushei HaRim said, no. The Gvuras Sus is only an example. Because a horse, you could bring out the concept of Gvura. Strength. So a Yid, it says it in the Svarim, has the Azus of a Nomer and the Zrizas of a Tzvi. A human being takes the koiches of each Balchai. The Balchai is an example for a Tchunas HaNefesh. That's why we say in the morning, you should be Askanomer, you should be Rotzke, because you have it in you. So we say a person that has strength, not the Sus, the Gvuras HaSus. The Gvuras HaSus, Pshat is a successful person, a strong person. Success and strength, beautiful, especially when it's Ruchnius. That means the person finished Masechtes, and the person is very capable and doing beautiful. But Roitza Hashem, more, on top of that, more than anything, the people that are Meyachlam Lachazdai. That means they're just constantly, they have their eyes, and they're now relying on the Rebbeinu Shalom, and they're putting their hopes, tikva, that's called the Meyachal. That they're holding on to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and they know that I have a Rebbeinu Shalom, the Eibush is going to help me. I have zero picture, I can't see how, but I could hold on. As the Rebbeinu Shalom, he held me till now. He's gonna take me further. I can't see how this is going to work. Arafel is the darkest. Moshe Nigash, he goes to Arafel Kitsham. That's what the Eibush is. Nesivas Shalom. Why? Because if I have what to hold on, then I could hold on to the table. I have no table, I have no nothing. So then, I have to hold on to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So that's a success story. So if the Eibush creates a matzav that makes no sense, the amount that the departments cost, and it doesn't add up in any mahalach. So what are you planning to do? I don't know. We're gonna daven. It means most of your life you're spending saying, I don't know, but I have a Rebbeinu Shalom. I can't see further. It's a fog. But look, I'm alive. They wish to help me till now. So I can't see 2 feet ahead. But I don't have to see, because I'm holding on. That matziv that doesn't make sense is a gewaltige mahalach that's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be like that. It's not a problem. Then they have the person that says, yeah, but you don't chap. I have to give an answer till tomorrow. So the answer is, I do chap. That's it. It means that the matzav that you're in, that you feel you're stuck from all sides, is supposed to be the matzav, because that's the only way how to get to be miyacham lachazdak. Or you could explain it with a different marshal. Have you ever wondered if you have hallways, you have that people are supposed to go through here. Maybe you could take an example. Big airports, thousands of people going. You have always going down. You go down. Okay, that's where check-in is. That's where the luggage is. That's where the departing flights is. That's where you could take a train to the next terminal. Why don't they set up couches in those hallways? Comfortable geschmacka couches. Have you ever seen, airports are sometimes multi-million-dollar structures with such chokhmah, with such architecture that it's fascinating. Many times it's because the country wants you to see that they're upper class, so the airports, but not all over, but many times. So why don't they put the couches in those hallways? Very simple reason. They don't want you to sit there. They need you to move. Got it? If you sit down here, then the whole system can't work. I can't have people sitting here. I have to have people walking quick, getting to their destination, leaving place for the other people to go. And then the people themselves get to their destination. This world is a proizor. So the Rebbeinu Shem didn't set up couches. There's no couches. So where am I supposed to go? Move. Go, weiter. Where? Go. And that's what's happening to a person constantly. When they're living life, they had no breira. Someone once said, how are you allowed to marry off a child? How are you allowed to marry off a daughter? It's a psikration from Kaas. It means when you're putting yourself into a situation beforehand, in middle, crazy pressure, meshugana pressure from this, and doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. The answer is that you're just being pushed in. You're being pushed in. They're just pushing you further and pushing you further and pushing you further, and you can't stop, and then you find yourself on the other side. When a person is sitting and thinking, the fact that I have no mahalach is something that I'm supposed to experience, and by trying to live my life, that I could plan it, I could figure it out. And when I see something that doesn't fit, and I see something that doesn't add up, I get frustrated because it has to have a place. It's not a good idea. Not a good idea. Because the mahalach of life works on this. The mahalach of life is matzovim that are going to bring you to the miyacham machazde situation. Now when a person, we mentioned the previous year, a person has tinus. Naragon. He's upset, he's frustrated, he says this person is against me, and all kinds of tinus or minus. If you go into the essence, if you try to listen carefully, what's that person is saying, you'll chap that the tinus that the person has, the underlying yisoid is that there's no control over the matziv. There's no control, and it's out of hand. This is totally out of hand. What do you mean out of hand? It's another way of explaining what we said earlier. That person doesn't have any midas. I'm not moichel that person ever. All concept. It means I can't make sense of the matziv, and I'm now suffering because of whatever. So it doesn't make any sense. But once the person surrenders, that the Eibush is in control, and goes back and forth and says, that part let me work on. I never said that it's not painful. It can be painful because I had it rotten differently. But first let me take care of the fact it makes sense. It makes sense. It's so under control. And the Rebbeinu Shalom, it also, that's why a person has to have mahalchim to chap why it makes sense that the Eibishter does that. Zokt a mensch, nobody can figure out mahalchim from the Rebbeinu Shalom. But there's some basic level understanding. The Eibishter wants to teach me something. The Eibishter wants to elevate me to the next darga. I don't want to be talking. The Eibishter wants to help me get rid of some old baggage of kaporas avoinus. I could understand why it's happening. I'm not stuck in the chelik that it doesn't make any sense. I'm not upset now that it was not in control, and that's why it happened to me. Let me take care of that chelik. Then what happens is, the person stays with something that's so soft, and the person is now only wants to know, I just want to know what I need to do. There are people that work on their emunah bitachon, and says Abemis, the Tanit B'Eliyahu says, the Kedushas Levi brings this Tanit B'Eliyahu, mitzvah l'saper b'shvachon shel Yisrael. There's a mitzvah to talk about the niceness and the darga of Yiddish kinder, of Yidden. I was zoche to hear from people more than once that they were struggling stage 4, machla, with all kinds of matzavim, with clarity, with calm, geschmack, and they said, and they felt it, and they lived it, and they said, I'm not scared of dying b'chalal. I just want the clarity what we need to do now. And that was the whole halach. It wasn't a sentence. I have two tzadim. I just want to know, is this the right zach or that's the right zach? I'm fine with either. They made sense of the matziv. It makes sense. Sometimes we say, don't fight the Rebbeinu Shalom's plan. Bizach Mavatal. There's two parts in Bizach Mavatal. One part is you have a rotzen, the Eibush has a rotzen. There's a fight. So if you're smart, give up the fight because Eibush is going to win anyways. So you might as well, I understand your rotzen, understand that Eibush is a rotzen. But then there's another little factor. The factor is, but it doesn't make sense. It's under a knetch. And they can't give up their rotzen. Sometimes you have, let's say, two people that they could be two shutzvim, partners in a business, or it could be a person asking a favor. We could have it sometimes. You go to a person that's wealthy, and you're asking for an adava. The person says, I could give you, but I want to know what you're doing with the money. It needs to make sense. I could part with $100,000. I know how to do it. I did it in the past. I just want to make sure that I chap what you're doing and it makes sense of what you're doing. Two muchatanim, they're talking about buying an apartment here or there. The guy says, I want to feel that it makes sense, this investment, that the two partners. But if you don't make sense, that's why I can't be mavata. That's why I can't surrender. Many times people can't be mavatal ritzoinum because they can't leave go. Why can't you leave go? David says, the Torah, I thought you believe. In all kinds of matzav. Yeah, but it doesn't make sense. Because that person is such a ganav. So I'm upset and I can't have a emunah now. And one of the reasons what's hurting the person from having a emunah is because they don't have the art of setting it up in the mind. Let's go slowly. You believe the Eibush runs this world? Yes. Also, when people do avlas, it was basher that it should happen to you, and it was supposed to be like that. Yeah. Let's learn the psukim and the chavis basic level. What could be the pshat that you're going through? What you're going through? I don't know. We don't know cheshbon shemayim, but let me give you some food for thought, because it helps a person be humble. When a person is humble, they have all the brachos shaboilam. It helps a person that they should constantly feel they need to come onto the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's it. It makes sense. Figure it out. Not because the Eibishter has to veremphasize, the Eibishter has to explain it. Just because you are living in Hashem's world, and it's going to be beneficial for you. It's gonna help you if you're gonna have a way how to explain in your mind. I have what's happening. Once you go through that mahalach, it's easier to be mavatal your rotzen to Eibish's rotzen, because you're letting emunah seep in. And then the pain of a person first was sliced. He doesn't have half the amount of pain before we handle the rest. But it's not the same amount of pain because it's It's put away. Every tzor that a person went through, and this is so important, they can't get out of it. B'shum finished. The reason is because they can't make sense of it, and that's not letting them have emunah. And when someone's going to scream at them, you don't have emunah. You should know it's kfir. It's true, but you're not helping them. It means, yeah, we all need to steig in emunah. It's true. But the way to help a person that they should have emunah is to work it out. Let's take it apart. The Yibbush runs the world, it's latoiv, but how could it be it's latoiv? Oh, you see, I told you. When the person asks the question, it's not a chkira. I wanted to know, stam a shaila, I'm all eingefallen, why is it latoiv? No, that question is the reason why the matzah doesn't make any sense. That's why you feel that you're right. That's why you feel that the whole world is ba'avling you. It doesn't make sense. It's running after you. So let's sit down. So let's go back. Let's learn this shura in Torah. And that's going to help you have emunah. And when a person goes over it again and again and again, they could make the emunah, it could seep in. That they should figure out this cheded that's lying under the frustration. When people have children in moisdus, it's mamash impossible not to go through this, because this Rebbe is not doing their job, this manala is not doing their job, this kid came to cheder with a big, huge ice cream. What was the mother thinking? Now my child is coming home and ruining my whole afternoon, laying on the floor. Why don't they have some kind of mahalach here? Hi. The frustration is not. Your kid is laying on the floor. It's frustrating. It's taking apart a nefesh. But we always run. We always connected that doesn't make sense. Someone's at fault. We always run there, and we don't realize it because we're so busy explaining. Do you know that I had to go to the doctor today? Do you know that I had? So you're explaining, so fear is, so what's the maskon? Maskon is that people are crazy, people don't think. So who made those people? Who created those people? Who put them next to you? Knowing your triggers. Setting them up exactly mechuven against your trigger and put them there. So why would Hashem do that? To expose your triggers. It's a very good zach. Because if a person doesn't have the triggers exposed, what happens is they never become an emissary l'chiyid. You just make sure that nothing ever happens, so they could always smile. But you'll never get to the amun. So if we walk through ourselves when we complain, we have tightness, and we realize what's the thought process when we complain. The thought process is there's missing amunah there. Now, what's ruining you and not letting you have emunah is because it doesn't make any sense. It's always part of the picture. David HaMelech in Tehillim talks about his emotions. David HaMelech in Tehillim explains this and that, but is in the middle of talking to his best friend, talking to Rabbi Shalom, and will never explain it that it doesn't make sense. Only when David does Toiva, that's when David Melech says, doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. Why should Hashem do that? That means the active trauma that David Melech had is from the good. The goodness. Again, David was made to again, but the fact that his child wanted to kill him, the fact that he was in Matzovim, which he was struggling to stay alive, he speaks to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And he says, he's explaining. He says, David put me into such a matzav, and this is how it feels, and it's amazing. And I have no idea what's going to be in a second from now. That's just fascinating. That means, wow. And I don't know if I'm going to be alive saying that. But he wasn't in the middle of being nisrachik. He was in the middle of becoming closer. Because if you take that component, then a person, could have a beautiful discussion. If there's a couple sitting down for dinner and explaining or giving out their emotions, this happened, that happened. So if you're not blaming anybody and you're being honest and you're very, very calm, it was amazing. If the pshat is it's a mifza blaming, then it's chaval. Then it was richuk or kiruv. Explaining the emotions could be kiruv. The opposite could be richuk. It's the opposite. But the nakuda, which brings it that it should be the right side or left side, is this yisoid. And a person chaps why things are not supposed to make sense, and he chaps also why there's a mahalach. Mahalach that you should have to have bitachon. It's a mahalach so you should need to daven. It's a mahalach that you should see how the shiftless, how a person doesn't have any koyachas himself. Slowly they figure it out. Tan l'chocham v'yech kamoid.
Lukatsky explains